Hey, West Kingdom. I hope you're having a good day. I'm doing a series of videos on how to use some of the tools that we now have in place via Google. Specifically, I'm focusing in on the West Kingdom calendar, the new Google Calendar, and how to use it. One of the features that we have in that calendar is we have the ability for the various local branches to add their activities. So I'm going to go ahead and share some of the things and how to do that and how we use it in Canali to give you guys an overview. And what I've got here in the background is Canali's calendar. We don't do a lot, but this has been a really useful tool. I want to go ahead and click in on our meeting so you can see what this winds up looking like. We have a simple thing in place. One of the things that we have is we have 12 folks that receive email updates whenever we create an event. So if we have to do something like last month, we wound up canceling a business meeting for various reasons. We were able to go through and send out an email to everyone about that. And I'll show you how to do this a little bit later in the video. But I'm going to go ahead and start with just showing you how to create an event. So let's say we want to do something on May 6th. I can do a very, very simple version of that right here. I'm going to go ahead and take you to a slightly more complex view. I am working in Google Chrome on my desktop today. If you're doing this from a phone, if you're doing this from a different browser, it's going to look different. There are lots of tutorials out there in how to use those programs that are created by content creators who are much more skilled than I am in making how-to videos. If you need a little more support, I recommend that as a place to check out. You can also contact me individually at lc.hunnerpolk@westkingdom.org or email the communications team, communications@westkingdom.org, and we'll get someone who can help you out. So if I click on this more options, this is just a little bit easier screen for me to see since I'm working on the computer anyway. So, oh, we gotta wait a minute. There we go. Okay, so we're going to give this just a kind of a generic title. I do tend to go through when I'm creating things and I add in the city name so that, if it's the Canali only calendar, this is probably overkill, as is including the name Canali. But by the time all of the system filters in to appear on the calendar that's on the Kingdom webpage, it's really helpful to have branch names. It's actually kind of nice to have modern cities so that if people who aren't in the know are taking a look at this, they have a fighting chance of knowing what we're talking about. So we're doing this on May 6th. It's just going to be a local whatever. It's not going to take all day though. Let's say that we go to bed early here in Canali. So let's say we're going to go ahead and start at 5 p.m. Yeah, 30 minutes is good. We're going to go that long. The default setting for my particular calendar is the Pacific time zone. If you are doing events in Owertha or the Far West, you may want to double check your time zones and see what they're set to. The default display for the Kingdom calendar when it feeds through is the Pacific time zone. That's okay. It's all going to adjust and take care of itself, but you just need to make sure that you look for those things if you're entering from one of those non-California, non-Nevada areas. So we have all that in place. We're going to take a look at right here where it says repeat. I have some choices. I can go through and I can have things repeat daily, weekly on a specific day. I can have it repeat monthly, like a lot of times local meetings are on the same day of the month. I can set something up annually. I can go through and even give custom things where I make different decisions about how I want stuff to do. We're going to leave this one as it does not repeat for now. Add a location. There we go. One of the common sites that we use in Canali. I can set notifications at different times. I can talk about how many, if I want minutes or days or stuff in advance, I can go through and I can put stuff in and have a default. I can add a notification. So if it's something where I think the people I'm inviting are going to need a day or so reminder, I can go ahead and put that in. In some cases, like if you are working on your phone and you have multiple accounts logged in, you're going to have a choice of various calendars to use. So it's always good if you have access to multiple accounts to double check and make sure you're entering into the calendar you wanted to be entering into. Don't worry about those too much. This is where I can go through and I can add information. I really recommend including some kind of contact information or a link to some place where people can find more information, preferably not just Facebook. Not everybody's on there, especially if you're under the age of 30. But giving people a way that they can find the information and writing your content with the idea that this is going to be read by somebody who doesn't have any clue what you're talking about. It never hurts to go through and put those things in place. So I just highlighted that. I clicked this link button that has now hyperlinked my email address so people can email me back. I can make things bold. All this works a lot like any word processing program. So it's pretty straightforward. I can also go through and I can add links another way. So I can add in Shire of Canally's website. And we can do okay. And that will go through that. Let's say I really want to call people's attention to that. Maybe I go ahead and I bold that bit of text, which will increase the likelihood that they will click on it. So I have all this in place. One of the features that we have built in is for each of the local branches and several other things, we have some Google groups that will email out and people can subscribe to. We talk about that in one of the other videos. For example, in this one, I have 12 people that subscribe to this. If I click on Canally announcements, it will go through and it will send an email out. If you were paying attention, you will note that it also added a Google Meet event. If I don't want that Google Meet event, just click that down. It gets rid of that. It's fine. It's not usually confusing, but it's one of those automatic features that it does. If I save the event, it's going to give me the option of sending invitations to the calendar guests. I will generally do that when I first create something. Sometimes if I'm just doing a minor edit, I don't always send out an update every single time I do something minor. If I do something major, I'll go ahead and send out an update at that point. I'm going to go back to editing just because I don't particularly want to spam everybody who's on that list. I'll go ahead and discard that. It's like we never did it. But if I click save, I would get an event that's set up just like these ones. We do a couple of things here in Canally. Let me go back. April was a busy month. We schedule our fighter practices kind of as needed. It doesn't actually have a regular reoccurring time. If I want to go through, and this is an old fighter practice, we use the same information every time. You can see that it accidentally added that Google Calendar stuff that I need to edit out. I have my invitations. We have a few things in here, like we've got a slide that we attach to our things that shows you how to get to the location that we use because it does not readily show up on Google Maps. It's very confusing. People wind up driving into the canal. It's very bad. So we've got a few other things here. We include the website a couple of different ways. We include directions, all of those pieces that are in there. So I tend to leave this about the same. And if I want to schedule another fighter practice, I just go to the last one. I hit duplicate and it gives me all that information. Let's say we're going to do something in late June. Let's recognize that late June is hot. And so we're going to start a little bit earlier. There's no way we want to still be fighting at noon. So we're going to go ahead and change that to this time. I'm going to turn off that Google Meet stuff. I've already invited everybody. That's already baked into the system. Everything else is going to stay exactly the same, but that's actually a really simple way for me to reuse a one-off event. If I click save, it's going to take me through all those save steps that I showed you earlier. We're going to go back to editing so as not to confuse the populace of Canally with random events. That's one way. I'm going to show you another thing that actually came up. Actually, it's right here. We had a case last week where we went through and we canceled an event. So I can go through. These are my more options. Again, this is where we did a duplication. We can go through and we can delete events if we want to take them completely off the calendar. What we actually did in this case was we went ahead and we did put a cancel notification. We did actually go through the steps and we emailed everybody out to let them know that meeting was canceled. So that was a good way for us to put that information out into play. Go ahead and get out of that. So that gives us kind of a rough thing. If I want to go through and let's say we do our arts gathering, that's kind of an open house. Let's say I want to change the location on that one. And actually this is a good one because I did make a change on this. Let's say I wanted to change the location to something else. I type all that information in. When I go through and I do my save, I have some choices, okay? I can update a single event. So if I want to make a one-time change in location, I can do that. If I want to change something going forth, let's say your regular meeting place has changed, you can go through and change that. If you realize you've made a mistake across all of your events, you can click on that. And so we're going to go ahead and click on that because I closed off that Google Meets option. I'm going to click OK. And this is where it gives me a chance to go through and send updates to the events. I'm not going to worry about updating their emails for that. A fairly minor change. It's just going to make my calendar work a little bit better. So I'm going to click Don't Send. But now if I go through and I look at our Canali kickback entries, we do not have that Google Meets link in place anymore. We've successfully made that change. So I'm hoping this will really help your branches. Again, all this information feeds through onto the Kingdom webpage automatically. I have access through the control account to go through and make any changes you guys need. I encourage you to include things like your Shire name in the location and the title. You can see how that shows up really nicely on the screen. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. We're happy to help. We'll have a team of folks that are all trained to help you with this as time goes on. So enjoy your eventing. Let's hope this makes it easier so we can all spend more time playing medievally and less time doing data entry. Thanks. Bye-bye.